social chair who put this whole thing together, is Marzia there. And we'll get started with our Q&A portion. Take it from here, Marzia.
Hi everyone. So I'll start with the first question. What was the most challenging aspect of transitioning from the dental school to practicing as a dentist? Anybody can take the lead.
Okay, I guess I'll go first. For me, so when I left dental school, I went into a health center, like a public health center. So for me, it was nice to go into that environment because there were other dentists there. So I had kind of like mentors to talk to, but the timing was probably the most challenging because all appointments were 30 minutes. So it didn't matter if we were doing like root canals, fillings, extractions, like everything was 30 minutes. So the timing was probably the hardest thing to adjust to, and which helped. I mean, in the long run was getting my time up, but that was probably the biggest adjustment for me initially out of dental school.
Anybody want to add anything to it?
So for me, I think probably the toughest part of transitioning from dental school into the real world, I started off in a private practice, and I'll kind of piggyback off of that. The speed of everything, you're used to having 1-2 hours for like one filling, but then that turns into like 20-30 minutes, so just getting the speed up. And then also too, I don't know, just being confident in your skills and your abilities, because that imposter syndrome is real. So you get out there and you're like, man, I don't know if I know what I'm doing, but you just got to trust yourself and your skills, and everything will end up working out. And I would say a challenge for me personally, I don't know if this affects any of y'all, but dealing with like finances and things like that, that was a challenge for me, because that was my first time touching some real papers. At first, didn't really know how to handle all that, so I definitely bumped my head a few times. So I would say for those, getting ready to graduate and things like that, like really get a handle on finances and how that works, and make sure your credit is on point and all that good stuff, because people had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, absolutely, Doc. I definitely agree. Hey, what's up, Docs? How's everybody doing? What's up, future Docs? Thanks for having me here with you guys. I feel like I'm kind of an old head nowadays, so me having to think back about how I felt when I came out of dental school, I really had to sit here and think. That's why I was so quiet at first. But I think for me, the most challenging thing about, transitioning from a dental student to an actual dentist would be working in real-time speed, being more practical with things, like in dental school right now, when you're working on your typodonts. Is that what they still call those little models, typodonts? Your instructor would tell you to do a class 2, a class 1 prep. And it's so teeny tiny, small, and perfect and ideal. And then when you get in the real world, you barely see those type of preps. They will be very extensive most of the time. And it's basically like, whatever you need it to be to make it work. Things like that. It's more of the practical type scenarios that I think is the biggest challenge, as opposed to being in dental school and being a dental student in clinics.
If anybody don't have anything else, I'm going to go to my next question. How do you maintain work-life balance while managing the demands of being a dentist?
I think I can start with this one. So first of all, thank you all for having me here. I think I am like kind of the baby of the group. I graduated dental school in 2023, so still kind of like y'all, just figuring out what life is. But for me, work-life balance really starts with the greatest sense of like, F it, I gotta take my break and get it done. Because if not, you become really, really overworked. And if you care, which I think a lot of us being dentists, we care a lot, and we like take that with us. But at some point, those people will be okay. The patients will be okay. The people you work with will be okay. You have to take care of yourself, be able to take care of other people. For me, it's literally just like, nope, I'm closing my schedule. I'm going to take a day. So what? You miss out on some money because ultimately you have to take care of yourself. On the day-to-day, I will absolutely take a nap in my car at lunch. That works for me. And then like in the evenings, I would definitely go out with friends, go to a concert, basketball game. I live here in Charlotte, so there's kind of always something going on to some degree. And even when you're tired, you kind of have to force yourself out so you don't kind of start sulking on the couch, become a vegetable, and start hating life. Once you push through that initial, like, I'm tired, and you get out, you start having fun and dancing on couches, life starts to feel like life again.
I guess I'll go. Hey everyone, I'm Brendan. Nice to meet everyone here tonight. I'm final year of oral surgery residency, so not quite fully into the practice just yet. But I mean, I signed 10 months ago. I'm ready to go. I just wanted to double back on the first question. I think what's really crucial is there's a lot of young dentists that get out. I talk to a lot of people. I have them come on the podcast to chat and stuff. There's a lot of people out there that start practicing and they feel like It's that only imposter syndrome, and they really want to find the right opportunity. And sometimes you don't find out until you're in it, right? You don't know the reality until you're actually doing it. That's how you gain that hands-on experience. If in hindsight, I would say during dental school, get to know those attendings if you can. Get out there during residency, get to know those attendings if you can. Get out there into that private practice, that corporate dentistry. You don't know what's better for you until you're in it, right? But if you could kind of expedite that process during dental school, just to shadow a day here and there. It's not like you're going in every weekend. No. It's like maybe one day in a month here. A couple of months later, you go over to that attendings there. That's how you get to know these things. When you're finally in the next, you're already a head start into recognizing what you're going to be happy. Because some people, they just want to go in, do a 9 to 5 and leave, right? You want to start focusing on the family. Everyone has different priorities. You have to find what's your priority and how you're going to manage that. I know that's just some thoughts on the side. And thank you all for having me here. I love it. You guys are awesome.
Anybody want to add anything else?
I'll go. When it comes to like maintaining that work-life balance, you just got to kind of realize that, dentistry is what you do. It's not who you are. It's real easy to wrap your identity around what you do every day, all day. But, I would say like for me, finding hobbies that I enjoy. I like to barbecue. So you catch me behind the pit on the weekends. I like to draw. Things like that. I recently picked up golf. So, you just got to find little fun things to kind of just take your mind off of dentistry and the hustle. Cause like you can get burned out if you let that be what all you think about, all you do. So just kind of find that balance, spend time with your loved ones, take care of your body, go get you a massage, facial, whatever you got to do to kind of unwind. But just take it easy on yourself, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely, Doc. Absolutely. I totally agree, man. Work-life balance is very important. And most dentists don't figure that out until it's too late. Burnout is very real. I've been through it. I've been a dentist. This is year, 16 for me. So I've been through burnout a couple times, you know what I mean? Especially if you're on social media a lot, like a lot of you guys, I recognize a lot of you guys here on social media. It means that you're always in contact with the world. I mean, I don't know if you manage your own stuff, but I manage mine. So I see all the messages. Even when I'm not in my office, I may have a patient reach out to me directly in the middle of the night. Oh my God, what's going on? And that can be tough, man. I don't know about you guys, but I have a family. I got 2 beautiful little girls. I have a wife. I'm married and stuff. And it's tough to turn it off. Sometimes it becomes to the point to where it's like your whole life 24/7 almost, depending on what kind of dentist you are, I guess. Especially if you own your own private practice, it's hard to turn it off. But you have to find a way to get out of the dentist mode and do things like Dr. Harris was saying, working out, playing golf. I love playing golf too. You have to find those hobbies and you have to say, forget, man, I don't care what's going on. Like, I just went to Disney World last week and I told my staff before I left, don't call me about anything. I don't care if somebody breaks a front tooth off. I just put it in. Do not call me because there's nothing I can do because I'm out of town. You know what I mean? So you just have to have that stance and stand on it, man, and be firm. And you just have to make your patients understand because you're a human just like they are. And at the end of the day, it's just teeth. You know what I mean? It's just teeth.
I agree. I definitely agree. I'm just going to pick it back. I mean, everyone I think already kind of handled every aspect of it. I definitely agree with that. Been told before, like the best way to kind of like talk through those kind of situations, because we do care a lot, is just like, what can I do? Like a lot of times we spiral, our minds go everywhere, and it's like, what can I physically do, or what is the solution to the problem? Because me just dwelling on it is not going to help. And then in addition to just things that you do, like your hobbies, working out, whatever you want to do on your side, having a dental community is great too. Like I keep in touch with a lot of my dental classmates, and having people in whether their practice, going through the same things, hiring to talk to and chat through with those things helps too with your work-life balance, because you could get really isolated, especially if you're not working with other dentists. If you have your own private practice, then like having that community and kind of relating helps with my work-life balance too, because I'm not alone. Like I know there's other people kind of going through the same thing I'm going through.
I'm gonna open the floor for our members. You can unmute yourself and ask the question, or you can send it to the chat. I'll read them to the doctors, however it works for you guys. You are muted, Jenny.
I'm back. I'm a 4th year student, so I'm graduating this May, and I have hopes to one day become an owner. And I have a question for my ladies. How is it being an owner, being a woman, still having a love life? If you don't have children but want children, how is that managing that as a woman?
As I was looking at your face there, it is I would say difficult, honestly. It's kind of something that plays in the back of my mind a lot. I don't have a family. I don't have children. It's just me and my dog, and we're just winging it. I don't know. Dating is weird. Because you're always tired, right? And then people don't have their lives together sometimes, but that's a whole nother thing. But ultimately, I think like you take care of yourself and you just have faith that everything else is gonna fall into play, and you actively do things, right? So I used to joke and say like my husband just need to break in my house because I'm not going out, but you have to put yourself out there, of course. As long as like you have your things in order, like when that time comes and that person comes into your life, you just kind of hope it all works out cohesively. Don't focus on men. Focus on yourself, and you'll be fine.
Your practice will be there. They may not, but no, I agree. I definitely agree. The timing, the exhaustion is hard, but you also, once you get to the period that you can be intentional with it. Like I'm now, probably in the past couple months, have been more intentional with it, which has shown like better results. Like I'll say like, oh, I'm dating, and I'm not really dating because I'm not being intentional. So my office is like my baby. Like I take care of, like I put my all into the office. But I have seen, like I have classmates that have families, they have offices, they have kids. So I mean, you can definitely do both. They were able to meet their significant others before they open. I'm trying to think of the people I'm thinking about before they open their office. So that helped a lot. But I mean, it's definitely doable. You just really have to be intentional. And if you want to go to office, though, there's a lot of time and commitment that goes into that. And then there's a lot of time and commitment that goes into relationships, too.
I wanted to just include that. Dr. Miller, what you said is so important. And I'm not trying to mansplain. I'm not trying to do that. Guys, I mean, I'm sure you'd agree. Dating when you're like in residency or you're practicing and you're single, everyone it's so hard to differentiate. Do they like you for you or do they like you for what you do? And it gets so confusing. It can get cluttered. You don't want to go into a relationship because they think that they got to practice. They're a dentist. They're this and that. I'll just be very conscientious of that.
Absolutely.
Got a question from our members. How worried should we be about paying off loans?
I've gotten mixed student loans. I've gotten mixed responses on. I know some people that have done like the NHSC scholars. I know some people that have done you go to the health centers and they pay it for you. But right now, there are some plans that are in forbearance with the government and everything. So I've heard mixed results. Not in financing, so I probably can't give you the best advice. But depending on what plan you're on, I've heard that if you do the state plan or whatever the income driven plans, like you just kind of pay it. Some people do pay up front, like they just want to get their student loans taken care of. Again, I'm not really an expert in that, so I've just heard different scenarios in different situations. You can open an office with student loans, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I guess when it comes to student loans, I did that the income driven payment plan, and that definitely took the blow off a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, I think they might have got rid of that now, so I don't know if that's a thing anymore. So that kind of sucks. But I wasn't super aggressive with paying my loans off. That's just was a personal choice for me. I was like, I'd rather live life and enjoy. So that's kind of how I approached it. But I know people that live very humbly and put like huge chunks towards their student loans. So it just kind of depends on the lifestyle you want and how quickly you want to get rid of it. But sometimes what I've noticed, I don't know about the other docs if it happened with you, but like when it comes to like trying to get cars or houses or anything like that, a lot of times they would see that student loan and be like, oh, your debt to income ratio, and then like they want to approve you for as much. So that was kind of frustrating for me. But just kind of things to look out for. But I wouldn't let it be a black cloud. You still enjoy the career, enjoy your life and everything. You'll eventually pay it off at some point. I'm still working on mine, so it's all good.
Same here.
Same.
Not anywhere either.
It's not going nowhere. Oh.
They'll get it at some point.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. I think like with the income driven or even like the save whatever, all the repay, the income driven ones. Even when you pay up until like the 20 or 25 years, you're not paying off the loans. Like at that point, from what I'm told, what I've heard, there's some payment you have to make at the end, but it's over. But you're not paying up that full amount. So that's why I don't understand the difference between like aggressively paying on it and paying the full amount or the just staying on a plan to pay it. But again, I'm not a loan officer.
Can I ask a follow-up question before we move forward? Hi, I'm Ariana. I'm a third year. I was wondering, so we're talking about loans. So let's say you are kind of just doing like the payment plan. Like, how does that affect your like spending habits? Like, is it a big dent? Like, are you like breaking even once you pay your monthly payments, or like do you notice it? I'm just always curious as to like how much you're paying back as opposed to like how much you're making.
I've always done one of the income driven ones. But when I first came out, I was working for a health center. So it was based on that. It was technically I was making payments, but they were zero payments and they were very little when they started coming up. And then I was always on one of like the save is it income driven or repay, like all of those are income driven. So it never really affected my lifestyle because it was based on the income I was getting. And even when my income did jump, I wasn't on a plan where the payment jumped a lot. I've seen people where their payments jumped a lot, where it's like a few thousand or went up that amount. But for me, it was always like a few $100s. So I haven't had that experience where it affected my lifestyle.
Thank you. We'll go to our next question. That's also from one of our members. How do you navigate conversations with patients about cosmetic treatments like teeth whitening or veneers while maintaining a focus on oral health? And do you ever see a decline in oral health after treatment?
Okay, let me break that one down. There was a lot of questions in one, I think. So the first part was what again? How do we manage cosmetic conversations about veneers versus whitening?
Like any cosmetic treatment.
With oral, was it with also their oral health, or that was a separate question?
Again, it was with the oral health. So the question was how you navigate the conversation between the cosmetic treatments and maintaining a focus on the oral health.
Okay, yeah. Well, you definitely want to, put the oral health first, and fall back on the cosmetic treatment. I mean, without the, proper oral health, the cosmetic won't work out. I mean, I always compare it to like building a house. That's a conversation I always have. I'm like, sometimes the house has to be built. I use this like word for everybody today. So write this down. Sometimes the house has to be built. We're in the house building stage. We need floors, walls, ceilings. We need a good foundation. That's the gums. And what you see at the end is like the drapes and the curtains. Those are the veneers. That's what I do as a cosmetic dentist. I hang up the drapes and the curtains. Sometimes we have to rebuild the house. So that is a very good analogy that you guys can use. And patients understand that. Whenever I say that to my patients, it's like a light bulb immediately clicks in their head and they're like, okay, I see what's going on. So you always want to push oral hygiene first. And, I have seen cases where people get veneers and stuff, and for some reason they feel like, oh, my teeth look good now. I'm not going to focus on cleaning them as much. And I have seen a lot of inflammation in gum stuff, and it's not really the veneers' fault, it's because patients may not want to brush as much. And I've seen cases where patients love their smile so much, now they want to take care of it more. And they come in for their cleanings more than a person without like veneers or whatever. They may come in and get their teeth cleaned by their hygienist every 4 months as opposed to every 6 months. And that's what I really recommend is after cosmetic work to come in every 4 months to maintain. Because it takes a lot of work to keep it up.
That's a great analogy. Just to piggyback off of that, I think that was great. I mean, I think you hit all the points. With patients too, I also let them know, because a lot of patients now they'll ask, like, how long do these things last? And then that's when I'll kind of go into what you're taking care of at home as well. And we can't start in a dirty environment. Like, we need to start with a clean environment, and you also have to maintain at home. Like, it's both of us. It's not just me that is maintaining the veneers or your smile and everything that's going on. So I think that helps as well. And photos too. Photos help a lot when they can see. If it's visible on the photos, it's great. If you can see on x-rays and you got a little AI too, it's great for patient education.
Add anything?
Like I use I don't want to paint on a dirty house because people always like, oh, that makes sense. I think a bigger thing there is I also say like healthy smile than pretty smile. So people are more like understanding like it has to be healthy to be pretty. And that's the order of operations always. Dr. Price, you may be able to speak on this a little bit more. Some people have those like healthy teeth sometimes and they're like, oh, I want veneers. And you're like, do you really want to cut into these healthy teeth? I think that's maybe where you're going with your question. But ultimately, it's what the patient wants and being upfront with them, going through the pros and cons, making sure they really understand how much of a commitment it is. Like there is no reversing once you cut into teeth. I know you do a lot of more composite things, but it's all in just making sure that patient totally understands like what they're getting themselves into.
Absolutely, absolutely. You, as a cosmetic dentist, there becomes a point where it's like, do I want to cut these teeth? They're perfectly healthy, and the patient just wants to make them look good. That's when your inner morals kick in. It's like, I don't, you can prep teeth and not cause any problems. Of course, very conservatively. I don't see anything wrong with that. a lot of people are scared of those preps that look like shark teeth and stuff that you see a lot of these viral posts on TikTok and stuff. Like I would never do that to somebody unless their teeth were already shaved and you're replacing old work or something. But that's where composite comes to play. That's where I started doing a lot of cosmetic work with composite. You know, lately I've been doing a lot of porcelain stuff, but composite is something that I think a lot of dentists overlook because it takes a lot of skill, of course, to sit there and freehand the whole mouth with composite. And also, I think we kind of, I see a lot of dentists downplaying composite because they say that it's not going to last. Or why would you get composite in here? Get porcelain, they're going to last forever. And that's cool. But I've done a lot of both, and I've had porcelain veneers act up too. I'm not saying composite's going to hold it forever, but I think it's like a good entry level way to get a nice smile without taking a huge commitment and saving somebody's teeth a lot and stuff. But I think composite is a great tool that every dentist should have in their bag, and it's something that you can offer your patients because it's great for you as the dentist and the patient. I mean, how many people do you know, just an everyday person that can afford to drop $25,000 or so on a mouthful of veneers? I don't know many. I don't know if, people that can drop five. For composite, it's more economical, and it's a way to help out your community and just the everyday person with that. I mean, a lot of people can benefit from it. I'm not just trying to just turn this into a composite thing. You mentioned it, but I think that's something that you should consider. It's very conservative when we're talking about cosmetics and morals and stuff.
Okay, I have this question for Dr. Bden. What point in dental school did you decide that you wanted to go into dentistry? Did you want to straight to OS residency? Did you take like a couple of years off?
Yeah, I took a gap year in between college and dental school, and I worked for an oral surgeon in that year. I always knew I had a big interest for it, and I liked doing it, but I wasn't delusional about other specialties and other parts of dentistry, the aspects that might draw you to that too. You can't just be closed-minded on one specialty or thing in dentistry, right? You got to learn everything before you can move on to the next step. Then on externships, that's really when it kind of solidified. I felt kind of like at least at my dental schools, like every man for themselves at times. Not really a fan of that. I like the team aspect. I played basketball in college, and I like coming into things with a team, And when I did externships, that's when you spend a week at oral surgery programs, shadowing, assisting, doing procedures in the OR, helping out in their clinic. That's when I kind of got to see that team aspect between the residents. I mean, sometimes you don't even sleep at these oral surgery programs, but their team, they go into things, and some programs aren't like that I found out. So I tried to go all in on that. That was a big part of it. Yeah. In dental school, keep your eyes open to everything that's at your fingertips.
So you went straight to residency after your dental school, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you wish you would work first?
I mean, I wish I could have had another gap year before dental school. That's for sure, right? I think we could all use another gap year before it all starts to become so hectic. No. I think it's good to kind of get things out of the way. Unfortunately, in some circumstances, that might take a toll, and loans start to stack up a little bit more. But you can't let the loans, unfortunately, it's a reality of today, but you can't let it take your away from what you want to do every single day. You know what I mean? You can't be weighing out like, if I go into practice versus that residency that I've been dreaming about, in practice I could save up a little bit and then maybe go back. Yes, that is true in some circumstances. However, you can't let that take you away from your dreams. If you go for your dreams, the loans might stack up now, but long term, you'll be able to pay it back faster. And you're going to be happier doing it.
Thank you. To the next questions. What do you like the least about your job, and what do you like the most?
I'll go. I would say the thing that I like the least about my job is dealing with these insurance companies. It is annoying. Yeah, y'all will see that. It is a pain. You work hard and you charge a fee for something, and they try to give you like less than half, and then try to tell you that you didn't need to do that. You should have did this. So that part is really frustrating trying to navigate that. And then what I love the most about it, especially like I'm 8 months into owning my own practice, and I love it. I wish I would have did it a little while ago. But I love working for myself. I get to work with my wife too, so that's cool. She's my office manager and hygienist, so it's like an extension of our home. And she had a baby back in December, so we kind of turned part of the office into a nursery. So just being able to have that, that family feel at the office is what I enjoy probably the most.
But do you want to add anything?
What do we like? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to really briefly, I was going to show out a statistic. The AMIS sent out an email late last week, and they said that for Medicaid B providers, Since 2001, the reimbursement, after adjusting for inflation, has dropped by 33%. That's tough, but it's a reality. I'm sorry, Dr. Price.
Yeah, that insurance game is a dirty game. I will add to that. I started out that way, man. I hated it. I hated it. You had to. I mean, I think it's better now, right? Because they have AI and stuff going on, and I've seen a lot of AI pro systems that can like help with the claims. Is that right? I don't know. Have you guys seen any of that stuff?
Yeah, but still, insurance don't want to pay. They'll find a way not to pay. No matter what you say. 50 appeals, and that's still like, nah.
That's what I hate about dentistry. It's really the business. I mean, personally, I have my own friends, but I don't like managing it. I hate it. I don't like that. I don't like today I had to deal with a situation. We have a lady that paid a down payment to get started on getting a smile makeover. I think she paid like $3,500. And now she texts us this morning saying, "Oh, something's going on with my job. President Trump is threatening to shut my." She works for the government, and she's scared about losing her job. Now she doesn't want to move forward. And I have a policy, and she signed it and everything. It's like no refunds. Once you put that deposit, we're ordering materials and stuff. We're getting ready. We're setting up your time with us. So now you got to make a decision like, do I stick with my policy? Is she trying to run game on us? Don't want to be an ass, not an asshole, but you gotta, it's a business you're running here. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's a business. And when you start refunding a lot of money like that, because, you put a deposit down 2 months ago, that money then got spent up on overhead and stuff. So now it feels like I'm giving you some money that I don't need to be giving back. You know what I mean? So I had to deal with that this morning. And that's the type of stuff that really takes away from what we do as dentists. And if you own your own practice, that's the stuff you have to deal with unless you've got a really good office manager. I have one, but I'm still very much involved in everything. Things like that is tough. So you have to really, be careful with that because that's what really burns you out. It's not doing the teeth and stuff is easy. That's the easy part. That situation I told you, that's what's hard. That's what keeps you up at night and stresses you out and causes burnout and makes you start, feeling crazy. And that's why dentists have all these problems, alcoholism, a lot of drug abuse. The us job. Suicide rates are crazy. I don't have those, type of thoughts, but that's where it comes from. To be honest with you, and I don't know if y'all have had anybody talk to you guys like that as far as dental students go, but I'm just keeping it real, man. That's where it happens. You got to be careful of that. Sure. Have you guys ever experienced anything like that? I know I'm not alone.
Like the stress, or which part of what you said?
You know what I mean?
The business side. Every time someone asks me, "How's everything going? How's this going?" Like my biggest complaint is managing people. Yes. Whether it's team members, whether it's patients, like managing people is the hardest part of my job. Like I can go into the dentistry. I like the autonomy. I can control my schedule. I like everything else about it. But not knowing if I'm gonna have a team member show up, not knowing if a patient's gonna come up upset about something, not knowing if a patient's gonna say they were sick when they were fine 2 hours ago, the money, everything, like you don't know. And then also not trying to take it personally. Like there's so many different levels about managing people, but I feel like that's the global aspect. Just managing people is probably the hardest aspect. Everything else is fine. Like honestly, the business side, like the systems, I don't mind creating systems. I don't mind like that aspect is the managing people. You don't know what persona you're going to get, whether it's a patient or a team member. I can only control myself. If I can get 1 million of me, that'd be perfect. Like you can't do that. So you don't know what you're going to get. It's literally managing people, their life situation, their personalities, whatever they bring to the office. Managing people is the hardest aspect.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Your team that's around you. I mean, that's a whole nother. I think what it is, we're all dentists. I'm not saying we're just smart people, but we are smart. And you're around a lot of other smart people all the time. So when you come out and you get into dentistry, now you're around a lot of dental assistants and stuff and people that are just, and they're all good people normally, but it's a difference in the criteria of the person. It's like, they just barely got out of high school a lot of times. And now they're surrounded by a bunch of, doctors and stuff like that. And it can cause like a weird dynamic in your office for sure. So that's another aspect as well. Managing people.
And someone told me that it's a good, I think that's a good point that you made as far as like you're around other people like hygienists, dental assistants, just different levels of school. And when I first came out, I didn't understand, like, I'm just like, this is how my mind works. So I didn't understand like why it just didn't make sense to me. Like to me, it's like common sense. But another dentist told me they're different levels. Like they did not go to dental school. And there's a reason why they did not go. There's nothing wrong with them, but they did not go to dental school. There's a reason why they did their level of schooling and they're not at that level. So you kind of have to not bring yourself to that level, but kind of understand and empathize for that level that they're at. because they did not pursue further education. There's a reason why for them that they didn't. People have different reasons. And just kind of like try to meet them where they at and understand what their perspective is and how they learn and just like different things. I've heard personality assessments, just different ways to kind of meet them, but they're not gonna meet your expectations as a dentist.
So we'll go to our next question. I think Meg, if I'm saying it right, go ahead.
Hey, my name is Meg, and I'm a freshman in undergrad. And I was just like kind of like I wanted to ask y'all like how y'all knew that dental school was your thing. And I also wanted to ask that after like dental school, did you go straight into like private practice, or did you like practice in like somewhere else?
As far as knowing dental school over medical school or PA or veterinarian school, I would definitely suggest it's that exposure. People don't realize how much exposure you really need to something. You need to immerse yourself in it before you recognize that, yes, this is what I want to do, or no, this is not what I want to do. I'll tell you a story. I was shadowing a couple cosmetic general dentists, an oral surgeon, and then two doctors. One of them was an endovascular surgeon in the city. And he was going around looking at people's gangrenous feet all day. I don't know about you. I don't like feet, and I don't like gangrene feet. You know, it's like, oh my God, and it stinks. And then you have the other people where they're like, I can't stand looking at cavities and teeth and smelly breath all day. I was like, that seems a little more cleaner to me, you know, than rather than cutting off toes in the OR all day. But that's how I knew. That exposure. You got to get in there. Try and see what dentists are in your area, your community, someone that you really connect with. I met a bunch of dentists I knew at the gym. Get out there and find them in your communities.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that. The exposure was everything for me. You know, you just got to be bold, get out there and find a dentist to shadow. Don't be shy. You know, closed mouths don't get fed. You just got to kind of start knocking on doors and figure out, you know, somebody that'll let you shadow. And, you know, as being a freshman in undergrad, you know, it's a great time. You know, try to tap in if your school has like a, you know, pre-dental society or something like that. Because to me, that's when, you know, the love for the field kind of took off, just kind of seeing that. And then just shadowing, seeing, you know, the day-to-day, seeing the reaction, the dynamic between the doctor and the patient is like really what drew me in. What was the other part of that question? I feel like there was another question.
It was that I like after dental school, did you go straight into private practice, or was there something else?
Okay, yeah, for me, you know, I was fortunate enough to connect with a mentor that I was shadowing while I was in dental school, and you know, she was able to bring me on as an associate, and so that was a little bit of a different experience. I learned a lot, you know, and it was a good opportunity, and I know people that have, you know, started off with the corporate and things like that. I would say like with corporate, you know, you'll have the good benefits. You'll have, you know, probably a little bit better pay than you will in private practice, depending on the dynamic of the office that you're at. But corporate will kind of help you get your speed up. Sometimes in private practice as an associate, it's a little bit of a slow boogie for a little while. At least that was my experience. But, you know, I enjoyed it. And, you know, throughout my career, I've worked both private and corporate. We can touch on that too at some point.
Okay, for me, so my dad's actually a dentist, but he's in the military. And I wasn't really pushed to do industry like growing up. I'm just a big daddy's girl, so I would follow him everywhere. Like he was in the lab, I'll follow him. I was there. But I always knew I was interested in like healthcare. Like I knew I wanted to do something. I actually thought I was going to work in a hospital, but I realized they don't have a great work-life balance. So that's what kind of pushed me to look at dentistry. So when I was in college, it's funny because I really don't remember. I was always pre-dent when I went to college. And then my last year, I did start shadowing in a dental office there. And then I graduated a semester early, so I worked in the dental office. So I kind of already knew at that point I was going into dentistry. So I don't really remember where the transition was from like just being in healthcare to dentistry, but I knew I wanted a better work-life balance, and I knew the hospital, like I'll probably be on call and not have as much as a work-life balance. So that's what kind of pushed me to dentistry. And then straight out of dental school, I was working in a health center here, a public health center. And then from there, I did a corporate office for like part-time while I was there. And then I also went into private practice that kind of turned into a corporate office. Like they got bought out by like a bank. So it was like a group private corporate office, and then I opened my office. That was kind of like my transition.
That's pretty cool. You know, we have a similar story. My dad was a dentist also, and I grew up kind of in the dental office. I was, you know, and his dental office was actually across the street from high school. So like I would go to his office after school and actually working there, you know, I was in charge sweeping up and stuff like that, cleaning. So I saw it firsthand. I was blessed and fortunate enough to have a mentor who was actually my father, and I saw him working, and I saw the impact he had on his patients and his community and everything. I mean, it was great. Like a lot of my friends and stuff went to him, but I'm not one of those dental kids that you know how you get the stigma. I don't know if you guys have kids that went to that in your class that fathers or some of the dentists, and it's like, you got it easy and all this type of stuff. I definitely wasn't like that. My dad never really just tried to force me into it. I kind of naturally fell into it. And then when I went to undergrad at Fisk University in Nashville, Harry Medical College is right across the street, so there was a lot of interaction in programs and stuff that I took part in where I could, be an honor and go across the street and do like pre dental stuff, science programs. And I know it was one program that was really cool where we went to Vanderbilt and they set us up. It was called the Minority Medical Enhancement Program. And we got to shadow all kinds of different, faculties of medicine and whatever. So I shadowed a guy named Ming Wang, and he's like the godfather of LASIK eye surgery. And I really was interested in that. So I thought I was going to go into that field, like ophthalmology and stuff like that. But I eventually fell back into dentistry. So, when I first got out of dental school, I ended up going back and working with my father here in Memphis, Tennessee. He had an office in Whitehaven, and then he opened up an office in Kirby. So I was going back and forth. So it was kind of like a mom and pop's type, literally a mom and pop. My mother worked there too. She's an art teacher. So I've been around dentistry my whole life. Man. It's cool working with family and stuff, but eventually I did my own thing and I opened up my own office. And he's still in Memphis practicing. He's a lot older now, but he's still here in Memphis practicing as a dentist. So that's kind of my story, Doc.
You're not gonna hire him?
We tried it, man. We tried it before. We worked together, but family and business and stuff is kind of tough. And when I started getting into the cosmetic thing, and his office is really, really insurance based, and I was in that, and it's like it's hard to mix those two types of styles of dentistry. If that makes sense. So we tried it. My dad always helps out. He's there as like a mentor still.
So that's also like the community I was talking about, like having someone to talk to still that you can. He has a lot of years on you,
exactly. So yeah, he's always there. We talk every single day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for the question.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth, and I'm a D3 UTHSC. Thank you, docs, for joining. I just had a quick question. I know some of y'all are private practice owners, but my question is, when did you feel comfortable enough, and I suppose when do you think you were ready to open up a private practice? Do you recommend being an associate for a couple years to learn the ropes? Because I know here in dental school, we get start checks, and if I have a question, I'm like, I'm going to ask Dr. So-and-so, but at a certain point, you can't do that because you're Dr. So-and-so. Just kind of, how do you navigate that and know when you're ready?
I'll kind of speak on that. You're never really ready. It's just one of those things where you just got to just jump off the porch and just make it happen. When I decided to start my own practice, it probably wasn't the best time. We had just had a baby. I just came off of back surgery, but I was at the point in my career where I was so fed up with working for other people, and especially the corporate companies and things like that. I was like, I don't know if I can continue working for somebody else or I might end up going to jail. So I was just like, it's time to do my own thing. I had no business background, didn't know anything about the business of dentistry. I just kind of during the time I was healing from my surgery, I just listened to a lot of podcasts, read things, and then I ended up working with a consultant, which was clutch for me because he basically made everything really smooth. So if you're thinking about, opening your own practice and you're not strong on the business side like I am, or I'm not, I would definitely recommend working with a consultant. But there's never a right time. You just got to trust yourself, trust God, because owning a practice has probably been one of the strongest tests of faith. It's one of the scariest things, but now I'm at the point where I'm starting to kind of see the fruits a little bit, and I'm glad I did it. But you just got to trust yourself and trust God, and it'll all work out for sure.
Anyone, do you want to add anything to it?
Yeah, I think, he made some good points. I've seen, so I didn't do it straight out of dental school, but I have heard on some podcasts, people that had purchased offices in dental school, purchased existing offices or had offices already before they even graduated dental school. I personally don't know how, again, I did not have any business acumen at all. And I had to learn a lot on the job or even with other office. When I opened my office, I was still working part-time at another office. So I could kind of ask them or ask the front. I was trying to learn some of the business stuff in the front office things because I think it does help to know everyone's job in your office. You don't know who you're going to hire. You might have to train them. You want to know what's going on in the front, the back, the side, the stereo, everything. So I'm not sure how they did that. I also started with a consultant at first, so that helped a lot. But I have seen people that didn't do consultants or did breakaway seminars or podcasts or other things before they open their office. I definitely think getting some kind of business CE something would help a lot before you open. I wouldn't just jump into it. And understanding the front end insurance, especially if you're taking insurance, will help a lot. You know the dentistry, you learn the dentistry, but I think that helps a lot before you open an office.
We'll go to Theo. You wanna ask your question?
Yes. Hello, my name is Theodora Asamoah, and I'm a second year at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center. So my question is, how do you stay current with the latest like dental technologies and techniques and research? And do you have any resources for students to stay updated? And also, it's a kind of a two-in-one. When he mentioned like he had to do back surgery, I was like, wow, like even in dental school, we are facing a lot of like back issues. So like what can we do to like mitigate that? Thank you.
Yeah, for the back question, what's been clutch for me is Pilates. That really helps strengthen the core. Yeah, and you sleep on it. You think it's easy, but you'll be in there sweating and everything like that. So that's helped a lot. I use a massage gun pretty frequently, and also going to get massages. Soaking in Epsom salt, all that good old stuff, ibuprofen, Tylenol, but you just got to take care of yourself, keep your core strong, because that's when it'll kind of get kind of hard. And then to answer your question about staying up to date with the technologies and everything like that, for me, getting out of school and joining like a local dental society, they have a lot of different CEs and stuff that you can go to, and a lot of those events, you'll see a lot of the new upcoming technologies. A lot of time these companies like Dentsply Sirona and all these other ones will have like these conferences where you can go and see what's coming out. So, then also, of course, like social media and everything. If you're like a part of like ADA or something like that, you'll get like magazines and things like that that'll come through the mail. So that's kind of a way to kind of keep up with what's changing, because dentistry is so dynamic. Like everything changes like, in a few months sometimes.
Thank you. Go to our next question. Fia, if you want to ask your question.
Hi, everyone. I'm currently a fourth year at the University of Georgia, and I'll start dental school in July at Dental College of Georgia. And my question was, what is your biggest piece of advice for someone entering dental school, and some tips to keep you on a good start for your first dental school year?
Let me step in here quickly to quickly touch on that last question. The conferences that, like, for example, when you're in dental school, the ASDA annual session, excellent. They have these sessions where a speaker will come in and they'll give a presentation. They'll have case studies. They'll have surgeries that they did. Excellent way to learn new techniques or what not to do. Be careful of it. Excellent thing to go to those events. You meet people, you learn, and you have a good time at night. I know there's like to party a little bit too. We gotta have some fun, right? The other thing I'm sorry, the last question. I apologize.
I asked what was the biggest piece of advice you had for someone about to enter dental school, and what are some tips to make sure you have like a good and smooth transition?
Yes. So quickly, I think the biggest thing is, from undergrad into dental school, it's a difference of, they say, an average of 32 credits a semester when you start dental school. It's a lot, but take everything in little bite-sized pieces. What I usually recommend to undergrad students is the first year, think about efficient and effective studying. Effective studying is obvious, right? You want to go from C's to B's to A's, high A's, right? You're effectively studying. You're getting better scores. But then you have to think about efficient studying. How can I maintain those A's and study less and less and less? That's the hard part, because now you're adding on 3 exams in a day in dental school, sometimes on top of a practical with you have to meet a patient in the afternoon to do a new procedure you've never done before. That can be stressful. So throughout your first year, just worry about the first year for now. I think efficient and effective studying, right? Get those higher scores, take the time to study for it down, and you're on your way.
You said you're in your last year?
Yes, I graduate in May.
And then you already got accepted to dental school. You're starting.
I start in July, yes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Enjoy your summer, girl. Enjoy your summer. That's going to be the last good close. Enjoy your summer. Enjoy your summer. Have a great time. Because like you said, when you get to dental school, my dad told me, which I think it was a great analogy, it's like you're trying to drink water out of a fire hydrant. You're getting so much information thrown at you in dental school. And when I got there, I was like, oh, this is correct. And I took a lot of credits my last couple semesters because I wanted to graduate a semester early in college. And it has nothing on dental school. Nothing. So enjoy. But you're going to be great.
Congratulations, Sophia. So my biggest piece of advice just going into dental school is to run your own race. You're going to get thrown into this room with a whole bunch of like type A brilliant minds. And sometimes we all are like super brilliant, right? Or our personalities come out sometimes. So you'll be around people and maybe they get something right off the bat and you're like, what? I don't understand at all. And that's okay because there'll also be a time where something becomes really natural and easy for you that's hard for others. The best way to play off of that is to actually collaborate and use your classmates as a resource. What you don't get, someone else gets. And so make those friends early on. And not just like, you sure have your core group, like your study friends, but collectively try to foster that whole community within your class so you all do better together. So don't beat yourself up. Give yourself some grace. You're going to be doing things for the first time, and it's actually hard. It's still hard. Years of doing it, it's still hard. So don't beat yourself up when you don't get something right or it's not as pretty as you want because you're there to learn. So also keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Dr. Miller, you are correct. Love what you said about, utilizing your classmates. And like Dr. Gallagher said, he plays sports. When you're in dental school, you're basically like on a team. It's like this is your platoon of soldiers that you're going to war with. And you have to look at it like that. You don't want to be the student that's holding all the information. What do they call those guys? The gunners.
There's gonna be gunners.
There's a couple of gunners. They're gonna want to just make straight A's and keep everything, not share anything. Then you got people that I know. Here they had things called rocks, and those are like old tests and stuff. And they used to use the same test so all the time. So people would hoard this information and keep it from certain people. And I remember, some people were cool and they would share it. And I know that the people that kind of worked together actually did better. We would study together, share all of our resources together, and you don't, want to be that selfish person. So your teamwork is good. It's about you too, but I think if you're able to develop a good team, which is your classmates, dental school will be a lot easier for you, and you will also develop a lot of good, strong relationships. Like there's a lot of people in my class, we still talk and we still communicate. We're still friends to this day. We're like family. So if you look at it like that way, you're going to need the support of your classmates. We have there's a lot of emotional stuff that's going to happen, and it's really like a family because you're with these people a lot, like more than your real family, for at least 4 years, sometimes 5 or whatever. But you got to look at it like that. Like teamwork is very critical and key on your success as a dental student, especially at first year.
And not only are you with them more than your family, they can relate to you more than your family. They know the same struggle that you're going through. Your family might not know that struggle. And I think one more thing to add is like how you study might change. Like how you might study in undergrad might change when you get to dental school. Like some people are like, oh, I can pull an all-nighter. I like to highlight, or I like to listen to recordings. Like some people record the lecture. So your studying might change, kind of like tune in to what works for you. In addition to like if you work better studying in groups, or if you work better studying solo, or if you need to study solo first and then go into a group to kind of like test yourself. Like pay attention to those details too.
Yeah, y'all all hit it right on the head. I don't really have much to add on that. Find community and then learn new ways to study. That's really the key, the secret sauce. Don't try to go at it on your own because that's when it'll consume you. If you try to just be a loner in class, even if you're an introverted person, like find somebody to kind of connect with and bounce ideas off of. Because I feel like I didn't learn how to like truly study until like probably like the second year of dental school. And I kind of have like a weird way of learning things. Like I use like an old school tape recorder and put all my stuff in there and then I listen to it over and over on loop. So it's like memorizing song lyrics. So you just got to kind of find like little weird things that'll work for you and it'll work out.
And that platoon,
thank you guys so much. Thank you.
And that platoon, I can't stress that enough. Going into a class with your own platoon, Dr. Harris, it took me third year when I really hit the ground running. Talking about the studying, I used Quizlet. But then when you get your team ready together, one person can make this in dental school, they give you the lectures in advance. One person can do this lecture. Another person can do this lecture. I could do this lecture. You need a team of just 2 or 3. And all of a sudden you have like your Quizlet cards, or some people use Anki or just written flashcards. And all of a sudden you're going into these classes already having it made, and you're just listening during the class, adding things now. Because usually they talk about the things that are going to be on the exam that might not be in the PowerPoint. That's the best way, coming in and conquering as a team.
And get your sleep. Everybody talks about pulling all-nighters and stuff like that. That didn't work for me. I did one all-nighter in dental school and I fell asleep during the test.
Oh my gosh. I fell asleep studying all the time.
Make sure you have fun. It's a lot of fun to be had in dental school. Don't forget about that.
There is.
I had more fun in dental school than I did in undergrad.
Dr. Harris, where'd you go to dental school?
The real UT Health Science Center? No, I'm just kidding. University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio.
I had a lot of fun both.
Okay, we have some questions in the chat and I'll read those to you guys. The first one is, whenever you guys graduated, how do you decided and find out about good CE courses to attend and upskill themselves? Like you guys, sorry, I'm reading the question. So, did you guys decided to take any CE courses, or do you take any, or do you think they're good to upskill yourself?
Absolutely. I would say take as much CE as you can. Because like I said earlier, like dentistry is forever changing. So, you gotta adapt or die. So always stay in CE. You can find courses by just, asking around. And then again, those local study clubs and things like that. Local dental societies, you'll be able to tap into a lot of CE. And then also too, there's a lot of good online CE as well. So yeah, definitely try to get in as much as you can. And I would say even maybe put aside some cash on the side to just devote to CE, because some of those courses are a little high. But yeah.
Yeah. So is this a question asking just like, did we take CE?
Yeah, like is it a good decision to like do them and that's it?
Okay. My advice would actually be to start taking CE now, because you get discounts or free CE as students, and I wish I knew that when I was a student. But definitely when you graduate too, because you get newly grad discounts too. But as a student, you can even, like in DC, the AGG offers free tuition to like students that come to our meetings. So I don't know if it's the same in other areas, but I would definitely look to see if you can get free now. And it could be really great CE. It could be like things on laser, implants, all kinds of things. So I wish I did that when I was in dental school for sure. And then I definitely think putting money aside for CE when you graduate for sure. And then depending what route you go, like for the public health center side, they pay towards some CE, like a certain amount towards CE. So when I was with them, I took some CE through them, like travel CE, because they would pay for it.
Thank you. We'll go to our next question. So, as a private practice owners, do you ever question your decision making, especially because you don't have a professor or other dentist like along with you, or like how in school they look over your shoulder? You don't have that. So, do you like question yourself just having that private practice instead of with somebody else?
Like imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I think they're saying like, do you ever question your treatment plans?
Yeah.
I think I would say like use dental school as a time to practice, right? So don't think like your first day in dentistry is like on your first day of dentistry. Especially if you're a fourth year, like do that prep, right? And do it until you would stop in real life. Not because you have someone behind you that's going to check it and tell you to go a little bit deeper and make this wall a little bit wider. Use that practice so when you get to actual day one, you're like, okay, like I know what I'm looking at, I know what to do. So get those reps in, especially on those days like where you're tired and you want to leave school. Nope, you're paying for it, right? So, get all that help and feedback that you can now. There are still days where like I get a patient in front of me and it is a wreck, right? And so I'm like, where do I start? And it's okay to like take that pause. Like you should build a community around you where you can ask people. So sometimes like I'll step out the room, text somebody real quick, like, what you think about this picture? Or you just sit that patient down and you're like, listen, it's a lot to look at here. Let's start with square one, just get everything cleaned up, and then we'll reassess from there. And that's okay. Usually people that have a lot going on, they know it, and they will respect that a whole lot more versus you making up this whole treatment plan and putting an implant here and an implant there, and then it turns out you're actually going to take most of these teeth out and add some more stuff. And so it's okay to like not have all the answers at square one. Come back, reassess, and use your mentors as a guide to help you through those tougher cases.
Absolutely, Doc. You know what it is about being a dentist that makes you a great dentist, and this is for all medical fields. It's not that we know how to do everything. There's no way you can know how to do it. You can't be great at everything. But as a doctor, I think that we should know how to find out and how to research, how to do stuff. If it's something I don't know, I know who to ask. I know how to pull in my network, and I know where to go to find out how to do something. And that's what you have to understand about being a doctor. It's not about I just automatically, I graduated dental school. Now I know how to tackle every situation that's going to come through my office. You're never going to know that. Now, the DDS, nobody's DDS is bigger than anybody else's. Everybody, nobody is smarter than everybody, basically, what I'm trying to say. So you have to know how to use your resources and find information.
And that also goes back to the community too, like referral sources too. I'm really good at like telling the patient, look, if you have a lot going on, and I've learned that from mentors too, that's even if I even if it's a big case and I can probably plan it all, I don't have 5-10 minutes to plan it right now. Like I need to sit down and look at your x-rays, all your records. The patient might have to go. So I think it's a great way to also let the patient know, like, I want to create a catered plan to you. So it's not just like, I need to look at this plan. I want to create a catered plan to you. So let me, look at your records and everything. Let's bring you back and discuss it. But also knowing if you can't do it and having those referral sources. Like, I will send pictures to my referrals. I'll send pictures to my classmates, to whoever, and be like, look, do I need to refer to you? Like, do you need to see this? Like, and I let them know I have great relationships with the people, because a lot of times they'll come into your office because they want to see you specifically and they don't want to see someone else. But I'll let them know too, well, we have a great relationship. I have sent many patients over there. Like, they'll treat you well. So I think that's really important too, is having that community of referrals. Like, I have a lot of classmates that specialize, so that helps a lot too. And then I just have from study clubs too that I have other referrals.
Yeah, that's great advice. So I would say definitely don't be afraid to refer. You definitely got to choose your battles, because you might get out of school and be like, I can do all these cases. And I learned the hard way. Taking on some extractions, I probably should have punted, and it should have took 10-15 minutes. But I'm in there sweating after an hour and a half. So yeah, don't be too proud. And the conversation I have with patients is just like, hey, like, this guy does this all day, every day. You can be in and out for 30 minutes or less. You can be over here with me, watch me sweat the streams.
Okay.
So don't let your pride get in the way, because ultimately what I tell my patients is I want you to have the best outcome. It's not about you spending money with me or me feeling, whatever about getting something done. Like, I ultimately want you to have the best experience, so you continue to come back and, continue to get your treatment done. And also take your time on those complicated treatment plans. Like, you don't got to just throw something together. Like, it's perfectly fine, like she said, to just bring somebody back for a continuing consultation, something like that, just to kind of let you, get your bearings about you. And also in those complicated cases, like, make sure you're taking scans, take photos and things like that, so that we can go back and kind of look at it with a fresh set of eyes. Because sometimes it's hard to, make a great plan whenever there's like 5 things going on at once. Just take your time, be humble.
You're not rushing for another patient. And then also with the referral sources too, like, if you have time, they don't mind you coming into shadow. Like, if you want to see their cases, if you have good relationships and you want to grow in that way too, a lot of referral sources don't mind you coming into shadow or see like your patient that you refer them to and watch the surgeries and stuff as well.
And as a general dentist, like, you don't have to do everything. Like, that's the beauty of being a general dentist. You can pick and choose what you want to do. Like me, I don't do root canals. I can do them, but I just don't like them at all. You know what I mean? So I don't even have stuff to do a root canal. That's by design. But you just got
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel you on that, man. Find out what you're good at and do it. Just do it. Like, I started doing composite video. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't even want to do fillings or anything. Just find out what you're good at and do it, and you will find yourself being very, very, very successful. Don't be afraid to, refer to the specialist. I'll tell you a story. There was a very huge rapper. I'm not going to say his name, but he's from Memphis, a legend here. And he came to my office. And he had his health was pretty bad. He's kind of overweight. He had a lot of stuff going on. Like, he basically needed like all his teeth taken out, implants everywhere, bone grafts, all kind of stuff. But he's found me on social media and he's seen me and he thinks I can do all that type of stuff. And I was like, man, honestly, I'm not gonna do this thing. I don't want to be the one to even try this. But I do know this expert prosthodontist here in town that can take care of that for you. And you know how hard that is to turn down that type of patient. Like, this guy is, everybody knows. And you just have to humble yourself, like Doc said, and be smart. You don't chase clout and fame and stuff like that. Because I could have did his team to try it and put him on Instagram and been on all the blogs, World Star and all that type of stuff. And I turned down and I sent it down to a prosthodontist who I knew could take care of it. He went down and I actually went with him to the prosthodontist to some of his appointments, let him know, like, hey, I'm part of this team. I'm at the quarterback. I'm going to send you to the right people who's going to be good at what they do. And I'm going to be here with you every step of the way. And I was there and I helped him get through it. And after he got his teeth done, he texted me and he said, hey, Doc, I really appreciate what you did for me. Thank you so much. He sent me a long, heartfelt message about it. And I can tell he really appreciated me being honest with him about my skills and what I'm limited at doing. And I put him in the right hands. So that's what it's really about. Being smart, drive on the right side of the road, stay in that left lane, speed it, you know what I mean? Just be careful, cautious.
This next question is for Dr. Harris. What made you pick Austin, Texas? The person asked Hannah, I think she's thinking of doing her hygiene career there.
Yeah, so for me, I'm from Austin, born and raised. And, a lot of times people are kind of, worried about going back to their hometowns and things like that. But I've pretty much worked in this area my whole career, like what, 6, 7 years. So I felt like it was, and honestly, like I've always wanted to live in the Austin area. It's a dope city. So if y'all never been, y'all should come check it out. But I love the area. It's blowing up a lot. It used to be kind of a small, low key city, but now for some reason everybody wants to live in Austin. So there's a lot of growth, a lot of room for opportunity, a lot of budding suburbs and things like that. So there's just a lot of opportunity, and I kind of feel like I have a home field advantage because like I know everybody in town, you know what I mean? So it's pretty easy to get word of mouth and things like that. So that's why I've been pretty successful early on with getting a lot of patients in the door just from the connections I've built with everybody in the community. But to answer the question, as far as it comes to like picking location, you got to pick a place that you're going to want to live, you're going to enjoy living and things like that. And, sometimes they say, get your practice before you buy the house, so that way you're not locked in and things like that. So just kind of be mindful and really just research the area, do like a good like demographic analysis and kind of see the age ranges, the income levels and everything like that in the area that you're looking at. Kind of just do your due diligence.
The next question is, did any of you take gap years? They want to know like how it looks like after undergrad and before dental school.
Yeah, the gap year, don't shy away from a gap year. You start going into a gap year and you're like, you want another, It's a great time to really kind of see where you fit in this big world that we're living in, And, take that job, go for that vacation, spend time with that friend, that family member that, might be that family member that might be a little bit older, or that friend that's really far away, but you can right now. Because once dental school starts, residency starts, you might not have time to step away so easily. That's a really big thing. Do that extra hobby. I remember my gap year, I was like trying music producing for fun, reading books, trying to do stocks. I don't know what I'm doing with stocks, but try it out. You might lose a couple of dollars, but it's all part of the experience, right? You learn from it. The gap year is a really good thing. The cup is half empty or half full kind of thing. You're either going to make the most of it, or you're going to look at it like, oh, I didn't get into dental school right away, yada yada, falling into the crowd, don't follow the herd. Forge your own path. Follow to the beat of your own drum.
I too took a couple gap years in between undergrad and dental school. During that time, I actually was a real estate agent, so I somewhat had like a whole another career. And I did almost anything else I wanted to do, where it was like random brand ambassador gigs and things like that. So I got to travel a lot. But those things didn't feel like a waste, right? So those are skills that I still learned over time, and I still use those today. Where it comes to like marketing, myself now in dentistry, et cetera, et cetera. I did do a master's in Miami, Florida, at Barry University. That was the best time of my life. It was the best decision I ever made to live in Miami for a couple of years, and so you get all the experience in the world. But kind of like Dr. Gallagher said, like literally just live your life, take that time. I think sometimes we get focused on our gap year should be so productive and we beat ourselves down. But that rest is still just as productive to kind of get your bearings, and get ready for that next step. Gap years, I think we say that's non-traditional now, but non-traditional is the new traditional, honestly. I think people that take gap years have a little bit more insight on the world and how it works versus those people that kind of go straight into school and haven't had the time to really look outside of a textbook.
Thank you. Go to the next question. If you guys can you talk about the demands of private practice versus corporate, and are there other options beside these two?
Demands.
I said demons. I was like, oh my god.
No, demands.
There's some demons. I don't know.
For sure, yeah.
I swear I thought I'm sorry. Oh man.
Do you want me to repeat the question again?
Yes.
Now I most probably will say demands. Talk about the demands of the private practice versus corporate, and is there any other option beside these two?
Yeah, there's also academics. There's research options. You could work at a school. You could work in a hospital setting. You could work for a corporate office. You could start your own office from scratch. You could go into a private office that has partners, and maybe over time you can get an offer to be a partner in the practice. There's so many opportunities out there. There really are.
You can also, that you can work in a prison. There's like mobile dental clinics that you can work in as well. So like the sky's the limit, you know what I mean? And going to, private versus corporate. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I'm not really a fan of the whole corporate realm. I like actually hated it because it kind of got to a point where I felt like, people that weren't dentists were telling me how to do my job, all for the sake of production. You know what I mean? So that gets old quick. I mean, also you're gonna work like a dog in corporate. Like they're gonna make you see 2, 3, 4 full columns, and like they want you turning and burning. They want you doing the most treatment and everything like that, where private practice is a little bit of a better pace. And like Dr. Gallagher was saying about the whole partner thing, that's a good situation to get into, but you got to be careful because a lot of people get burned in those type of situations, because a lot of times the owner doctor that's thinking about retiring, might all of a sudden get a second win when it's time for you to sign on that dotted line to come over. And so like there's a lot of like relationships that kind of break up with stuff like that. So you just got to kind of be careful and just know who you're working with and just know what their character is like, so you don't get blindsided by any of those things, because things change and people can change their mind like that. And then, you're kind of left in the dust trying to figure out what to do. But there's pros and cons to both. And I would say definitely try to explore both, just so that we can kind of get a feel for it and figure out what you like and what you don't like. But I think the best thing is just, owning your own.
Yeah, you go into that practice that they're promising you partnership, and then 2 years in, they sell to a DSO. What? Guys, what happened?
Happening a lot right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so between private, I did private practice and corporate. I did corporate very, very minimal time, and then I even think the private practice I was at, that was kind of like a mixture of both, gave me some insight. But public health is also very similar to corporate. Like if you have to work in community health or public health, that's another option. You do get benefits like corporate, and like I said, you're working 30-minute appointments. They don't really give you any extra time, and you're doing whatever is on the schedule for that patient, and you have other columns as well. So I do agree with Dr. Harris as far as like the demands that they put on you, and in that situation, I have a mixture of both, because I did have a dentist that was our supervisor at first when I started, and I loved the job at that time. And then there was a transition where he left, and the manager at the time was not a dentist. So I experienced kind of both sides, and I don't like, again, being told by someone that's not a dentist what you should and shouldn't be doing, how you should be treatment planning, how you should be working. It's just, it was crazy to me. So I ended up not staying there. And then I worked part-time at a corporate office for a little bit. But since it was part-time and it was only for probably like I don't even know if it was 90 days. I was on a per diem at first, so I didn't really have the experience of like true corporate there. And then I was at the private office that had multiple offices that got bought out by like what they called like a bank, which turned into corporate eventually. So that was probably my best experience, because it gave me a private practice experience, because the owner dentist was still very much a part of the everything when I joined. It changed later on when I transitioned to opening my own office, but it still gave me a mix of private practice and kind of learning the business side, because I had more hands in it and not being told like how I could schedule patients. Like I got to schedule my own patients. I had autonomy over my treatment for patients. But the thing with that is that, again, with the group practice or corporate too, you don't know if you're going to see the same patient again. Other doctors are seeing the patient. You might see patients that other doctors treatment plan for. So that's where I don't kind of like between even public health and group practices, is that I don't know who's showing up on my schedule. I don't know if someone else treatment planned them. Do we have the same philosophies? Like what treatment do I have to do on that patient? That was what was a big like deciding factor for me opening an office, was having autonomy over my patients and their treatment and their experience in the office too, because I can only provide like their experience with me. I don't know how the front is doing. I don't know what the assistants are doing, because that's not my office. So that's what kind of pushed me into owning my own office for private practice.
So a little devil's advocate here. So I work in corporate dentistry actually, and I've had none of these experiences. So maybe it matters like who you work for, who you work with, I guess. I make my own treatment plans. No one's ever told me how to practice dentistry or what to do. My patients are my patients, and I see them all the time. I make my own template to my schedule, so there's no way that I'm seeing X amount of people. Like I tell them how many I want to see. I tell them how long I want the appointment to be. If I ever look up on a day and we somehow have scheduled, more people than I want to see, I'm like, move somebody around, and it happens. Maybe I'm a little bit of a princess, but I know like the organization I work with treats everyone kind of like that as well. And maybe I just get a little more princess than others. But ultimately, I think you do your research early on, like who you're working with, so you don't get into those crazy situations. But this is my only job. I mean, since 2023, I'm still here. I still love it. And I get kind of all the benefits I want. I have all the technology you could think of as soon as it comes out. And if it ever came to a point where I felt abused or not having my way, then I wouldn't be afraid to leave. But I think as a new grad, just learning dentistry, learning the business of dentistry, I feel it's been pretty positive. And I don't feel the pressure of like having to learn business so fast, even though I have a business background from undergrad. But do your research. I hate that you all had experiences that way, but it definitely makes you tough, and able to handle it on your own. So everything is not for everybody, and everybody is not for everything.
Share the organization.
We're repeating health.
I want to add the thing.
Pacific Dental.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
That's great. Yeah, that's amazing.
You said do your research compared to some of the other opportunities I guess you were looking at. What were some of the things that kind of pointed out to you to lead you in this direction?
And so I discovered them my first year of dental school. I kind of like you said, I went to NLC, so National Leadership Conference with ASDA. And I met my first PDS Health dentist there, which is someone that we probably all admire. I just kind of started stalking their lives, honestly. I started asking questions. I flew out to LA to shadow, and I didn't even know that they worked in a corporate entity until I got there. And I was like, oh, this is super structured. This is weird. And then I just started, asking to be connected with more people because I was on the West Coast. So I'm like, what's this look on the East Coast? Met people there. And then I was like, well, you all are guys. Like, I want to see what this looks like from a woman's perspective. So I started shadowing other women. So by that fourth year, I think I kind of knew everybody, everything. And I still entertained like other organizations just to see what they were about so I can compare and contrast. And honestly, it was harder for me to find like a private practice person to trust and just know, I was getting to the right things. I talked to some other people that graduated before me, and they would say stuff like, at my private practice, my owner dentist doesn't want to buy like polishing burrs for composite. I'm like, well, that's simple, but it's expensive, so they cut corners in some places. And I was just kind of like, well, if I already don't know, dentistry that well, I want to make sure I have access to these things. So that's kind of a big piece of what guided my decision. And then just the opportunity for growth, not just like as a dentist, but like in a corporate entity. So I do a lot of speaking engagements, and via that platform, I kind of get put on the road as much as I want to.
Okay, we're coming
Amazing.
to the end of our panel session. So we have you guys had a long day working, so we're gonna have just a couple of questions that's left in the chat, and if any of the members have any question, you can raise your hand and also share the information of the doctors too. So this one is asking, as the D4s are graduating, they're gonna enter the workforce, and because they don't have much connections, so they're asking like if any tips you guys wanna give how to look for clinics and apply to jobs for D4s.
You just gotta get out there, Don't be scared to ask around and just pull up on people. Like you gotta just really kind of be aggressive with seeing what opportunities are out there. Yeah, that's what I'd have to say to that.
I think again it goes back to the local associations, or if you can, like again, you as a student you get free access to a lot of CEs and stuff. So using those platforms, I'm sure you guys are also on social media, like reach out on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever. That's a great way to connect with if there's anyone that you already see on those platforms. But I think also the local associations are great because a lot of the dentists are there already, and then they see you going, they see you're interested, you make connections, and then from there, even if they don't have someone, they might have if they aren't looking for someone, they might have colleagues that are. And then I don't know if you guys have access to like the buying groups like Henry Schein and stuff, like their reps, they have connections to a lot of dentists. So like Henry Schein, Benco, all of those people. Probably even I know when I was in dental school, the loop companies came. It's like Oroscoptic, like those reps, they probably have access to other dentists they can put you in contact with. I would just utilize all those resources.
And a lot of people might ask, well, how do you get access to those reps? It's exactly what Dr. Miller said too. At these events, at NLC, at ASDA sessions, ASDA events, that's how you're going to meet and network with a lot of these people. So go to those events. Really, don't shy away. I know it's not. It might take away a little bit of time from studying. It's kind of worth it.
So the next question is for Dr. I don't want to say it wrong. I'll just say Brandon. That's easier for me to say. What's the most interesting procedure you have done during OS residency?
Sure. Am I? Yeah, I'm muted. Sure. There's been a couple. Just last week we basically patient with squamous cell carcinoma cancer of the right mandible. And what you do is you dissect down to the lymph nodes. And I was with an attending who's a head and neck oncology surgeon. So they take out the cancer, dissect all the lymph nodes down the neck, going from the bottom, sect part of the mandible from like here to here, take that out, and then the plastic surgery team takes, sometimes they take the fibula, that's one of the bones in your leg, or they could take tissue from, this one they took from their shoulder blade, the scapula. They take out a bunch of tissue with a lot of meat in it that has vessels, arteries, veins, and then they plug that into that space, and we put screws and plates to keep it in the right area. That's called a flap, and that's a big one. I think the coolest thing that I would say, and I'll get to my favorite, the coolest one was a patient with a posterior pallid defect, so a hole in the roof of their mouth all the way in the back. And what our team did was we did a coronal flap where they make an incision from the top of the ear all the way to the top of the ear over the scalp, and you flap all that forward. And then what we did was we took a chunk of the temporalis muscle out here, put a hole in the back of the maxilla, and repaired that to the top of the palate. And then basically we put like an implant in here because you can have temporal hollowing where it's like a big crater. It looks like the moon on the side of the head. So they put a little implant in there. You could suture it up back, and hopefully over time that takes. My favorite ones right now, there's this, all in X procedures where you put implants on the mandible and then someone puts a denture on. That's literally life-changing for patients in the sense that they come in with all these bombed out teeth. They can't talk. They feel self-conscious talking to people. They can't get a job. You take out all their teeth. Hopefully they have enough bone. You put implants in it all over the place, and the prosthodontist or general dentist comes in and puts the prosthesis on top. And sometimes we do both. They can leave that day with a brand new smile, brand new set of teeth. They can talk. It's going to be uncomfortable for a week or two, but it's life changing. And that's some of these patients, they walk out crying. It's the most amazing thing that you can see. And that's just not with oral surgery or implants. That's literally changing one tooth, maybe in the front. Someone's been self-conscious. They can't look at their wife or husband the same way. Getting jobs. Dentistry is such a beautiful profession in that regard.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I have the next question for Dr. Price. They want to know, for the cosmetic dentistry, doing veneers and implants, what all goes into as far as like schooling and mentoring? Like, do you have to do any schoolings, or did you do any mentoring?
Man, that's a great question. Well, there's not technically like any schooling you have to go to be a cosmetic dentist. You can really just say you're a cosmetic dentist. That's what a lot of people do. But I believe that there's an organization called the AACD, American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry. And that is a great organization if you're thinking about cosmetics. I can't believe I was a dentist for like 7 years and didn't even know anything about it until I ran across, I know you guys, especially the UT students here, know Mickey Bernstein. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. I know he's still involved with UT. I shadowed him, and he's the one that actually told me about it. So I immediately went to the conference. I believe it was in Chicago the first time I went, and I just hooked up with so many other cosmetic dentists. I found out about individual courses that they were doing. I ran into a guy named Adamo Norton Antonio. Y'all follow him on Instagram, Adamo Elvis. And he really changed my career. I took his photography course, and that course right there was like just mind blowing. The stuff he was doing with that camera was just unheard. I didn't even know it was like that until I took that course. I highly recommend that as a starter course. When you want to be a cosmetic dentist, go ahead and take that photography course. It's going to show you how to work that camera, how to actually put it on the MacBook, Photoshop. You're not Photoshopping teeth and stuff, but you know how to, learn how to put it on the layout. Stuff like that, man, the lighting. And that's what makes it fun. But I do think that you definitely want to find a mentor like I did. I found Mickey Bernstein. I give him all the credit in the world. I'm not ashamed to shout out anybody that's helped me. And I'm here to pass the knowledge on too. The stuff I learned from him at AACD. If you're interested in cosmetics and you're here in Memphis, give me a shout. You can come by my office. I always open my office up to other dentists that want to shout off. I had a lot of dental students come in. I've hired associates, kind of put them on in cosmetic dentistry, and now they're out there flourishing themselves. And that really makes me proud. So that's what I'm more into nowadays. I'm into mentoring, sharing a lot of the knowledge that I've learned by trial and error, and trying to help other dentists like yourself who asked that question. If you want to be a cosmetic dentist, I can show you some things to help you, and a lot of the mistakes that I've already made, I can prevent you from making those mistakes. So you want to find somebody that's open to helping you. That's the main thing about cosmetics. Just like with any other especially like Doc, doing the oral surgery. I'm sure he's had a lot of people show him some stuff that you just can't learn in the books. It comes down to experience. I mean, you can do thousands and thousands of cases, and every one of those cases, you're going to learn something different about it, honestly. And I see that every single day. So the AACD, I would start there. That is a great organization. They have a great conference. And there's something about cosmetic dentists. There are a lot more. Like, I've been to a whole bunch of conferences and stuff, SNDA, ADA, everything. Chicago, Midwinter, but the AACD conference is something about them cosmetic dentists. They are more relaxed and less stressed. They're walking around having a good time. I mean, the parties are amazing. I mean, it's ridiculous. And you're learning and having fun at the same time. So I would highly recommend AACD. Start there, and I swear it'll change your whole dental career.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. It was really insightful. We enjoyed it. That's was all the time we have for today. But again, we'll reshare the contact of the doctor's information at the end, so you guys can take a screenshot. Now I'm gonna turn to our president, Miss Jamie.
Yes, thank you all so much for taking the time out today to talk to us. I know some of you are on the East Coast, so it's probably almost 9 o'clock over there. But again, we really appreciate it. And you all shared with us your contact information and let us know that you all will be open for any dental students, aspiring dental students, to contact y'all. So thank you all. I do want to quickly get a screenshot of the dogs really quickly, just smiling, showing us why you guys are dentists with those pretty 32. Just give me 1 second. All right. Just hold. Perfect. All right. And I'm going to reshare my screen with the contact information of the docs. And thank you all so much. And we hope to keep in contact with our SNDA chapter with you all as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Hit me up on IG.
Thank you so much. This was very awesome. I loved it. Thank you.
And I do have a recording of this for those who weren't unable to make it, and I can also share it with you all as well. All right, I'm going to share my screen.
Nice meeting everyone tonight. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Oh, on my email, it's actually drharris@blackpanther.com, not D Harris. But y'all can also hit me up on IG too. I'm on there all the time.
All right, I just fixed that, and now I'm going to reshare it again. Oh my goodness.
I really appreciate you guys responding and coming to this meeting.
All right, everyone, have a great night. I'll leave this on for a couple minutes, but you're free to sign out. And docs, thank you all again so much.
Thank y'all for having us.
Thank you.